Wait no longer, greatness has arrived. Welcome to the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players. I'm your host, Joseph, aka Mr. Badbit, and it is here where me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation news. Of course, if you like this show, you can listen to it wherever you find your podcasts or watch the video version on the Trophy Room show. With that said, if you could drop us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, it really does help us out. And if you really, really like us, you could drop us a buck our way over at patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. So with all that said and with all that out of the way, the greatest co-host, whoever will be, Mr. Kyle Stevenson, how are you, sir?
Doing pretty fantastic. I'm a little tired.
Yeah?
Yeah, a lot of stupid adult things that I had to do. Adulting's awful. I just want to worry about, does my peanut butter and jelly sandwich have crust on it?
Really?
That's what I want my top priority to be.
My thing is when, everybody's like, when you get older. I wish someone, and they always kind of say it, but told you how hard getting back up is. As a kid, you get knocked down, you're immediately back up again, like the song. Yeah. But here, I had to bend down and rehook the camera HDMI in to my PC, and I had to pray to some deities I don't even know existed to get back up again. And I'm like, oh my God, these knees, they just don't work anymore, man.
The pops and cracks that come from my ankles, knees, and hips when I get up, it's real bad.
Yeah. But listen, this show is not about the arthritis that is to come for both of us.
This is not the arthritis room.
No, it's not. No, this is a show about PlayStation. Of course, today we're going to be talking about a whole slew of stuff like Jade Raymond making a independent game for PlayStation. We are going to be talking about how PlayStation 5 is now the fastest PlayStation or fastest selling console of all time even. We're going to talk about PlayStation's Play at Home initiative and all the games that they're going to be giving away from that and all the awesome indies we're going to be seeing this week or coming weeks, months into, I don't know.
Until the springtime.
But before we get into all that, I want to welcome a very special guest from PlayStation Source. Kev, how are you doing, man?
Greetings. How are we doing? What's going on? A pleasure to be here. Yeah.
Kevin Diaz, how are you, man? Indeed. What brings you along?
Indeed. Doing good. I'm excited to hear. I've definitely observed what y'all been doing.
Thank you.
Definitely appreciate it.
Oh,
right.
Man. I feel like you're the professor in the back of the room as I'm presenting a project.
I am far from that. But I always like to meet, new people that are, in a similar thing that I do, right? So definitely like to meet and mingle perhaps, and
for sure.
Excited to be on here.
And it's really hard to find PlayStation centric people. And I don't.
You guys know how rare it is to find people with these lights, and all three of us have it.
Yeah,
let's
man.
go.
I know.
Let's go. We're in good.
Mine don't work, but at least they're there.
So before we start the show, Kev, and we all start talking PlayStation, what is PlayStation Source? What do you guys do over there? Tell me all about it.
So it is commentary on PlayStation as a whole from a very contemporary, current day thing, and we talk about current news. Sometimes I have the crazy theory video about X franchise or whatever, whether it be God of War or Horizon and stuff like that. Making a lot of Returnal content recently. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is on the mind a lot, so definitely that as well. Recently I talked about a theory that I read up on and got tipped off on by a commenter about the name of the female Lombax in Rift Apart.
Ooh.
I think we cracked the code. I think there were some clues that Insomniac gave. Very, 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 very minuscule clues that I think I cracked it. I cracked it. So stuff like that.
Yeah. Head out over there if you want to find out the female Lombax's name. I'm thinking her name is... Was it? I think everybody came to the consensus it's Rivet, but who knows? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Have you guys seen, I know, Kev, your internet was acting up today. Kyle, you've been busy being a grown-up. I got to sit down and be lazy all day. I saw the Returnal single-player or story trailer that dropped today. Did any of you guys see that?
Oh, yes, I did.
Yes,
I did.
Kev, what did you think about the Returnal story trailer thing that we got today?
What I'm hoping what this means, right? Dedicating a specific trailer like the narrative and the story of this game, right? I'm hoping we have a type of maybe whatever degree off you want to put it at, but like a very similar experience to like Hades, where like Hades gave us a very good story in a roguelike, right? And I'm hoping that, Returnal is set to do something very similar, right? And like they are just giving us very like surface level things that even in the blog, when you read it, they talk about like, hey, we don't want to, detail what's going on with like the house in the game and like what that's all about. And, even, oh my gosh, Celine, seeing her own corpse as you play through, like different stuff like that, where it's like, okay, like there seems to be a lot of really cool lore in this game that I hope, you have that with, I'm assuming that the gameplay is going to be on point with House Mark. They do gameplay great, and just what we've seen, it seems like they're going to be having a blend of their very classic arcade, fast-paced type of gameplay with this third-person perspective. I think it's got a lot going for it.
I just wish
visually,
Sony, and so weeks to come, we'll probably get a state of play. I just feel like dropping this trailer out today with the slew of news that we got afterwards, I don't think did this trailer justice for how interesting this trailer was. She looks at this like scout left behind, dead on the ground, turns it around, it's her helmet. And it's like, what the fuck is going? Like, she walks into this room and you get these PT vibes. Like, the more they show, I'm usually like, show me less, show me less. The more they show, the more I'm intrigued of this game. Yeah, I really cannot wait. That said, and yeah, go for it, Kev.
No, I think the last thing you said, the last thing I'll say is just doubling back on you saying that that they're presenting this info in a very specific way, where I do hope that we get a state of play dedicated to this game next month, or hopefully end of this month or whatever, like similar vein of like Ghost of Sushima or Part 2, maybe like a 15-minute thing, 20-minute thing, because there's a lot of info out there about the game on the blog, but not everyone's on the blog, right? Like, we are on the blog, right? But like not the average person.
I got ADHD, man. Show me a trailer. Show me people talking over said trailer.
I don't do words good.
I don't do words good. They don't come out great, So like, I feel you, and I just hope they do have that. It does have this moment where it clicks, because I'm really into them doing a shooter different, like, and having something that is a roguelike, come in and have this, AA, AAA backing that you don't see games in this genre have. So I'm super excited. I definitely recommend, if y'all still on the fence, check out that trailer.
Before we get into the show, though.
Yes.
We got to ask Kev. Favorite PlayStation game?
Go. Put me on that.
Joe is Bloodborne. I'm Last of Us.
Okay, Last of Us, Bloodborne. Oof. I
know it's a tough question.
Yeah.
In your heart of hearts, man. The thing that hits your brain, those synapses, those neurons firing off.
Okay. I think, while obviously I like a lot of PlayStation games, right?
Sure.
I think the one that is knee-jerk, the one that I thought of first, right? The one that tends to be first in my mind whenever I get asked that question is God of War 2018. For a multitude of different reasons. But
excellent.
I think at its core, the way they were able to redefine Kratos, right? And bring out the human in him, as he is half human, like bring out the human in him and tell a simple story, like on paper, right? You are, I guess, spoilers for God of War. I don't know if you haven't played God of War.
I'll bleep anything out that seems spoilery. Go for it.
Yeah. So like, it's a simple game, like in premise, like you are taking your wife's ashes with your son up a mountain as she requested to be spread across the highest peak in the land, right? And just everything in between that, and how they wrestle with Kratos' past from the past games, and how they still do that justice in so many good ways from lore and gameplay perspective. But at the end of the day, like at its heart, it really is a story about a father and son.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I think the fact that they were able to accomplish all of that in one game is just really, really powerful, you know? So I think that one definitely is probably still the top one for me currently.
Man, am I going to play God of War when we're done here?
Yes.
God of War's
I'm
amazing,
getting,
man.
every single time I hear just someone talking about God of War, or I see God of War, I get that itch.
Yep.
Is it
It's
time
incredible.
to go back and replay it?
I think
Hey,
it
man,
is.
60 frames on PS5, man.
I can't wait.
You know what I'm saying? 4K? Come on, man.
Yeah,
Come on.
no,
You guys know the vibes.
God of War is the second game that comes to mind for me. That is like coming from a person that never liked God of War, never got Kratos, and then 2018 just completely wiped that thought out of my head. And it's one of my favorite games ever. That said, it's time for the Patreon pitch. Of course, if we ever got you through a long car ride, a tough day at work, whatever the case may be, it really does mean a lot to us if you throw a buck our way over at patreon.com/PS Trophy Run. I want to thank our newest Bronze Plus members, Noah and Brian Hale. Thank you all so much. I want to thank our Platinum members, Todd Burwitz and Too Soon. Our Gold members, Chaotic Monkey, Gavin Goffrey, Griffin West, Jose Jimenez, Jedi Master Ren, and our Silver Plus members, Hein Indoors, Marcus O'Neill. Oh, it's just Ray. JB the Purple Monkey, Jadis Von Metal, Tim Olf, and of course, Justin Rodriguez. Thank you all for your support. It really does keep the lights on. It makes us look so great. The reason why we sound so good is because of your support over at patreon.com/PS Trophy Room. So with all that said, Kyle, it is time to finally square up the news. And we got a lot of news to talk about this week. Surprised.
Chandler Wood over at PS Lifestyle writes, Jade Raymond founds independent studio Haven, working on an original IP for PlayStation. Jade Raymond announced the founding of Haven Studios, a new Montreal-based independent studio working on a new unannounced IP for PlayStation. Raymond is bringing together other developers she's worked with over the years, saying that she wants them to be able to, quote, practice our crafts without any barriers or impediments, end quote. This comes just following the collapse of Google Stadia's internal development studio, Stadia Games and Entertainment, of which Raymond was an executive for 2 years. Quote, today I'm announcing Haven, an independent studio where many of the talented game developers I have worked with for years and love dearly are coming together to do what we are most passionate about. It's time for us to refocus on games in a place where we can practice our crafts without any barriers or impediments. We want to create worlds where players can escape, have fun, express themselves, and find community. We want to pour our passion into a project. We want to make something wondrous for people to experience, because we believe in the power of games to bring joy to people's lives. And Sony does too. Their commitment to excellence is unmatched. It's why I couldn't be happier for their backing and support. Together, we want to create games that are a haven for players, and we want to build a studio that is a haven for developers. So while we don't have many details to announce today, I want the PlayStation community to know that Haven Studios is already hard at work on an unannounced IP. We can't wait to show you more, end quote. Raymond is perhaps best known for her tenure at Ubisoft, where she was executive producer on Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs. She then left Ubisoft and founded EA Motive.
And then she went on to Google Stadia. And with that, Jedi Master Ren writes in, I love seeing devs take the power back from the corporate gaming space and cultivate it to push their art, their vision further than it could have ever gone while being held back by deadlines and higher-ups, pushing an unfinished product. Hearing a little bit about Jade Raymond's story now makes sense as to why she opted to do the same thing. Do you think going solo as a game developer is beneficial for the vision you have, or is getting in bed with a huge gaming conglomerate due to the money they can provide for a project an easier route to success? So, if y'all don't know, Jade Raymond, has made some of the most beloved AAA games out there. Assassin's Creed being one of them, Splinter Cell, Blacklist, EA Motive with Battlefront, a whole bunch of games, right? Watch Dogs. She knows what makes a good AAA game tick, and she went off to Google Stadia to head up their gaming division, head up their first party initiative. And, weeks ago we broke the news that Google Stadia looks like was out of the race in terms of trying to make their own games, that they ended up laying off a couple hundred people, Jade Raymond being one of them in her studio. And just within a few weeks, Jade Raymond looks like has taken that studio, renamed it Haven, and now has gone to PlayStation in terms of making an IP for PlayStation. Haven isn't a first-party studio. It is just a studio working on a PlayStation IP. That said, Jedi Master Run's comment and question here is really unique here because, yeah, it's awesome to see a artist take this vision that they have, have a name attached to it big enough to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go make my own thing and hell with the hierarchy, right? At the same exact time, though, guys, what is your initial reaction with going almost a Kojima route? And I'm going to go with Kyle first on this one.
I think you kind of hinted at there what I was thinking about this. This is a little bit like Kojima coming after the Konami breakup and partnering up with PlayStation because PlayStation gave him his space to do what he wanted to do and really not meddle and let him take his time. And I feel like Jade, as maybe not as well known as Hideo Kojima, is equally as important to video game industry, and she deserves all the respect in the world for what she has done as a producer of these incredible AAA franchises. Mm-hmm. So I think she saw what happened with Kojima, and PlayStation probably went to her in the same manner. Listen, hey, come do an exclusive game for us, and we'll give you all the time and space, and just do what your vision is. Mm. And I think that's really dope. And I hope PlayStation continues doing that if there are these wonderful creators that are not being able to fulfill what they want to do creatively. I hope this is like a trend that continues.
So, Kev, going on to you here with this, PlayStation back in this game, right? The Kojima effect is something I'd like to coin here on this podcast. We think about Death Stranding, and it was a really weird game. Like, no matter where you slice it, whether you loved it or hated it, it was a really, really odd game that could never be made in any other publisher or any other studio, right? With this type of backing to it. Do you think Jade is going to get super weird here and super abstract? Do you think she is, though, going to confine that? Like, is she going to get as weird as Kojima, or is she going to make something that probably is more palpable to the mainstream gamer out there?
Like, given what she's worked on, she doesn't, seem, at least at face value, as someone that is going to pull out something, as wild as Death Stranding was. By the way, I love Death Stranding. It was my first Kojima game.
Same here.
And I'm now working my way where we did MGS 1 and 2 on stream on the channel. So so just of that, right? It doesn't, but who knows, right? Maybe she's always had, some crazy obscure idea, right? Or that was deemed crazy obscure and just never got greenlit at Ubisoft, and maybe for all we know it was being developed at Stadia and that never came to fruition. Who knows if she's even allowed to use any work or IP building that was done at Stadia. I don't know what the full implication of that is, but I do think this is very smart on PlayStation's side of hey, getting this talent and not necessarily doubling down on a acquisition, if you will,
right,
or anything like that, but having a deal that is Hideo Kojima, right, with Death Stranding, but also kind of similar to the deal with Detroit Become Human.
Oh yeah,
Quantic Dream,
yeah.
How they had a 3-game deal with them, right? Yes. And it's not they had to upfront the cost to buy the studio. It was just, hey, we're gonna pay for development, publishing, and you make great stuff for our platform, right? I think that's a very smart in between way, and kind of I guess maybe a way they could also vet these studios in terms of hey, if it turns out that this project that comes out of this, is great and a lot of people attached to it and it becomes a really big hit, maybe down the road there is an acquisition and set, right? Yeah. Instead of doing it up front. So I think that, and of course as well, it allows Raymond to kind of, focus on the project and put out a game, that like she wants to, in spite of, the opposite, which would be doing an indie studio and having to handle all that goes into that, which definitely takes away from the process of making the game.
And I think you hit on a really good, several really good points of like, first and foremost, if I'm Jade Raymond, like my initial like thoughts on this is like, if I'm Jade Raymond, the last thing I want to be is tied down to something, in terms of like, I saw how Stadia went. I saw how Motive went. I was tied down to these projects that inevitably didn't see the light of day. I want to be in control of something again and see it to its fruition. And so if I'm Jade, I don't want to be tied down to Sony, but at the same exact time, I have, dozens of people that look to me for a paycheck and look to me as guidance. And so, if I have this huge studio, if I have a vision of a project, yeah, I'm definitely going to see that through. And if I'm Sony or anybody really out there seeing her leave Stadia, I'm just approaching her with a big fat check going, whatever, here, you make this, because you see what type of titles she's put out, what type of franchises she's made. And you can obviously see that not only was she capable or is capable of making these franchises, she's capable of controlling the overhead and knows what goes into controlling vast companies like a Stadia in terms of like how to control output. So for me, I'm looking at this as like, this is a great thing for both parties. If you're Jade Raymond, you got the freedom while at the same exact time making sure that you're making the thing you want. And if you're Sony, you just got someone that is a kingmaker in terms of franchises. So that is, it's kind of like a win-win at this point in time. And to me, I think, Sony is probably the best capable or best suited for Jade, because she can, I have no doubt in my mind, Phil Spencer knocked on that door going, "Hey, what's up, Jade? What's going on?" Same with Doug Bowser, right? Knocking on the door going, "Hey, Jade, want to make a Mario?" Like someone was knocking at that door. But Jade probably looked at and has relationships with, people like Kojima, has, of course, relationships with Sony, because I believe she used to work for PlayStation back in the day. And so she's just like, looks at her past relationships, seeing what Kojima is able to make, and just goes, yeah, let's get weird, and making a game that is undeniably hers. And I really do love that. Like, her studio name is Haven, and it's a haven for gamers, but it's more so a haven for developers and getting out of that corporate structure. So I really do, I like this independent studio, vibe that they're going with here.
And PlayStation gets another IP.
I was going to say,
exclusive to PlayStation, just another one in the long list of amazing franchises and IP that is on PlayStation and only on PlayStation.
And now, because even with the blog post, it was just like new PlayStation IP. You just think it's sole exclusive? Do you think it's going other places afterwards? Like,
at this point in time, I think even if it still comes to PC, it's still a PlayStation console exclusive in my mind. So I don't think it's going to go everywhere. I think it will just stick to PlayStation and probably PC down the line. Mm-hmm. Then again, I don't know how big this game is going to be. It could be a smaller thing, but it's now, another Kyle, feather in the cap.
I got a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Was this dare I say a reaction to a Microsoft situation where, like, was it a week ago? It seems like 3 years at this point with how much news has come out with them. But like, the Bethesda deal is now done.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a reaction to that, do you think? Or is this like, no, we saw an opportunity to take impressive talent and we took it. We don't care what Xbox is doing.
I think it's I always get this confused. The latter? Is that the second one?
Yeah.
Yeah. big brain energy over here.
I hear you.
I think it's more just seeing an opportunity to bring someone super talented and work with them. I think reactionary in the small time frame since that sale went public or official with Bethesda joining Xbox and Phil saying like, all these Bethesda things are going to be exclusive to Xbox and Game Pass places where you can play Game Pass. I think it's probably this talks have been in the works for probably longer than that. So I don't think reactionary, but just they saw an opportunity and they took it.
All right. Well, what say you, Kev? Do you think this is a reaction to seeing Microsoft make some big money moves, and this is their way of making what they consider a big money move?
Like, given the fact that like they have set her up with a studio and they know that it's going to be a new IP, right? Like it's not like so they seem to have a team built together, have an established network, and know what they're working on, at least from like whether it be a IP or like a license thing. So it seems like it's been churning in the background for a while. Granted, she left Stadia like 2 months ago, so
February, I believe.
Oh wow, okay, so pretty again, like it all happened pretty quick,
fresh,
right?
yeah.
For sure, yeah, for sure. I think the only thing that would probably be the reactionary element is how this was announced, right? Like, because I assume you would. I mean, Kojima needs no introduction, right? So that was a whole different thing, but like. I'd assume maybe they would have wanted, not trying to discredit Raymond's,
she doesn't have a name like a
influence.
Kojima. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no one really does besides, yeah.
Because she doesn't plaster her name. It's never a Jade Raymond game. It's an Ubisoft
right.
or yeah.
Yeah. So I assume like maybe they would have wanted at least maybe some key art, maybe a name, a working title, but maybe that is showing that this was just announced kind of expeditiously to kind of combat the whole Xbox news and all that. So
hey, sir, no $5 words here, okay? Only $1 words. All right? Don't make me look down.
Expeditiously?
Yeah, I think that's a smart word. I don't know. I've never heard it before in my life. You could have just made it up, and I'm like, I believe you.
I think I used that correctly.
Don't worry. So. Adam Leonard will let us know. So,
or we...
So I think you're onto something here, Kev. I really do. I think the way it was really weird how it came out, because it was just like PlayStation blog post. Here it is, where like Kojima got like Andrew House to sit next to him, speak Japanese to him. Kojima pretend like he wasn't insulted, and then like announced. I think they even said like the name Death Stranding or something along the line.
When he, it was the most epic E3 reveal of all time.
Well, no, even before the E3.
Okay,
before the E3, back in December.
Yeah, that was before.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
and so like, I think. If this was a non-COVID year, you know what I mean? If the cards were if we got a vaccine back in November, I think, no problem. Jade Raymond had a video, but I think the way it came out in a blog post does seem like it's somewhat reactionary, whether that is the case or not, because we saw Xbox this today. It seems like every day the past week have something new, have something exciting, and PlayStation kind of just still sitting silent. And I felt like it was a reaction of like, we need something, and here's this huge thing here,
Yeah.
Kyle, you're scratching your chin here. Do you agree with me?
I always scratch my chin.
It seemed like you were in great thought. Do you think this was reactionary? Or just get a post out there?
I mean, yeah, I could see it them trying to churn it out as quick as possible. This could have been like during an E3 kind of state of play where maybe the game has been like far along and there's like a concept trailer or something about what to expect from this game. So maybe they did want to just push something out there because of all this Bethesda news. I can see it, but I really think because they're probably still so early and there's nothing to show, I think if there was a video and there was no artwork or concept art or anything to get a hint at the game, I think people would be like, well, tell me when it's ready type of thing. So I think just having a, hey, I'm here, new studio, PlayStation, new IP. I think it's pretty great the way that they did it.
Yeah, I think they learned a lot of mistakes with Death Stranding as well. As to like, maybe we don't show this thing until someone has a vague idea what it is. With that, Kyle, listen, Jade Raymond semi-joining the PlayStation family as like a PlayStation cousin studio. Fantastic. That's awesome. And yeah, I think down the line, like, if it is a super success, whatever this game is, yeah, we're definitely going to see maybe Haven being a permanent fixture of the PlayStation studios. Because, Kev, I think that's exactly how Sony likes it. They like partnerships more than anything. Collaborations rather than buyouts. But that said, let's talk about the PlayStation 5 selling out. Because all we hear is that this is the last generation. Right? This is the last generation. No more consoles after this. But Kyle, the PlayStation 5's selling. It's selling really well.
It sure is. This story is coming from Wesley LeBlanc over at IGN. PS5 is the fastest selling console in U.S. history for dollar sales. The PlayStation 5 is the fastest selling console in U.S. history by dollar sales, but the second best selling hardware platform in February 2021, with Nintendo Switch continuing to lead the market. The NPD Group released its monthly report covering best-selling consoles, video games, and more for February 2021 in the US, and the Nintendo Switch leads the charge as the best-selling console for the month, with the PS5 behind it in second. However, the PS5 did overtake a record previously held by the Switch when it became the fastest-selling console in U.S. history after the NPD Group tracked, quote, total dollar sales after 4 months in the market, end quote. And as a side note from friend of the show, Benji Sales, Spider-Man Miles Morales has been in the top 4 overall best-selling games of the month in the United States every month since launch. November it was number 3, December number 4, January number 3, and February number 4.
And last week in the UK, it retained its top spot as number 1. And to finish what Benji said, Spidey's got some legs, man. It's awesome to see. Kyle, listen, you had this smirk. You're like top 5 or top dollar sales after 4 months.
It's just a weird sentence. Total dollar sales after 4 months in the market. I feel like they just made that up for this
Well, like in terms of dollar spent, right? It seems like PlayStation 5 selling really well. You can't get it anyway. Mm-hmm. But with that said, Kyle, question for you. You think this thing's going to outsell the PS4?
It's a mighty claim.
That's a hard question to answer. Right
that's there. A mighty
We're
claim.
4 months in, right? Just put your finger to the wind, see where the breeze is going.
Oh man,
we got Spidey. It's in the top 5 every month. Demon Souls.
Well, okay.
Who knows? But
the Spidey, the Spidey being in the top 5 is because you buy a PS5, you want Spidey to go with it.
Yeah.
So I think they go hand in hand.
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of those things.
I think they said even like 90% of PS5 sales, Spidey's attached to it.
Nice. Yeah.
And it goes to show, like, this thing, Kyle, this game, though it's on PlayStation 4, people want to play it and experience it on 5.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That said,
will
Kyle,
it ever catch up to the PS4?
PS4 is like 150 million at this point.
Okay. Well, PlayStation, I'm trying to see what they did within the first 4 months.
Okay.
So PS4 was surpassed 6 million in less than 4 months. Mm-hmm. What is PS5 at?
I think it did 6 million by December.
Yeah, and
Kev, jump in here. Kev, jump in here because Kyle's like trying to be on the fence.
Don't you fucking put this evil on me, Kev.
No, like so when you break it down, right? So it's official. PS5 is the fastest selling console in US history by dollar sales.
That's right.
I agree that's a weird metric to use, right? Sure. But I think whether it's like dollar sales, right? I think that's still translating to, you know, the PS5 is selling at a faster rate right now than PS4 was in the same time period, right? Mm-hmm. So you take that into account. The PlayStation 5 is coming off the heels of one of the best first-party launch lineups during the second half of last gen that we've ever seen for PlayStation itself.
Yeah.
Right. The PS4, I think, did so good out the gate. Mm-hmm. Was of course, with that legendary E3, but then also what's very integral is that price point. They came in at $100 cheaper than the competition.
Right.
But I think what we're seeing here, right, is I think we're still seeing like this rise of like people are excited about PlayStation. Like people are excited to see God of War Ragnarok, Horizon, Forbidden
Ratchet.
West. You know, Ratchet
You always want to say Horizon Zero Dawn 2, right?
Yeah.
I always want to say Horizon Frozen Wilds, which is the DLC.
Okay.
That's what, because FW.
Yeah.
They used FW. And it's like, wait. So I always want to say that one. But, like, people want to see these sequels to these iconic PlayStation 4 games, right? And I think that, like, this is just clear cut that, you know, like, people are just naturally just excited to get this box, in spite of the majority of the first-party games within, at least what we know of, the first year, maybe year and a half, coming to PS4 as well. And I think also like what was mentioned was that, you know, I think even like the common person, right, that isn't following PlayStation on Twitter and like, you know, really like following this industry how like we follow it, they are knowledgeable. They're like, hey, I want to play this new game on newer hardware. Right. Like, I think there's an understanding there, even from like the common gamer, of that notion, right? So I just think it's super interesting, like seeing this system and how it has interacted with the market, you know, post PS4, in spite of how difficult it is to get one. Like, oh
So that's the real question. Out of how many millions that are sold, how many are in scalpers' hands right now?
That's also a good point. Yeah, that's also a very good point.
I think if you're Jim Ryan,
would it still be the most fastest selling console if it wasn't for everyone scalping it during a pandemic?
Look at Kyle being all skeptical. Of course it'd be. Kyle. You don't know. This Bethesda deal's really got you twisted, sir.
The green light starts pouring out of me. Welcome to the Xbox Drive. I'm the new code.
Holy water. No, I don't know if it's going to sell as well as the PlayStation 4. I think Sony's goal is like, if it sells over 100 million units, we are in Gravyville, population us. This is great. I don't even think it needs to rationally outsell the PlayStation 4 to be a success. Just like Xbox is a need to outsell the Xbox One with the series. So like, to me, I really think the market is starting to shift in all these different, whether it's service based, whether it's focusing on the home console base, that everybody has their lane that it seems like they're doing just tremendous in. Like, yeah, PlayStation 5 is the top selling console, put an asterisk on it. Dollar sales. That still means that this thing is, they're being produced and they're being sold. Whether that's going to a scalper's hands, and whether scalping is really as prevalent as we think, or maybe it's just in our bubble we think it's the worst thing in the world. Who knows, right? But what I do think is this thing is selling insanely fast for where we're at right now in this generation. Like, to be at like 3-4 million by December is a pretty great place to be at this point in time. It's really comes down to like where this thing goes years in advance. You know, that's really going to determine if this thing's got legs. That said, Kev, Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Yep. Loved it.
Feels fucking good, right?
I loved it.
Because I saw you on the Spider-Man Miles Morales spoiler cast with DualShockers rip.
Oh yeah. That was actually not a well, you know, I mean, we did talk about spoilers, but like it was mainly about a talk about about Hispanic and African American representation in video games, but we did talk about spoilers there.
Yeah. And it feels great, right? Like, as a Hispanic, I like Miles Morales. Like, I say this like, I'm a broken goddamn record. He's my superhero. Like, Into the Spider-Verse got me out of the biggest depression of my life. Seeing him playing this game, I feel good. Knowing that we got a mascot, you know? It's awesome.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, it always feels good to like know that the launch of the PlayStation 5 will always be attached to a hero that is half black and half Puerto Rican. Like, that means so much to me, as half Dominican, half Colombian individual myself, for sure. So definitely means a lot. But I do think, like, in the question of, like, is it gonna outsell it, I think I don't know if it's provided in the sales figures, but, like, I think what would be I guess the best way to tell how many consoles are getting in the hands of scalpers or coming to the average consumers or the hardcore consumers, right, is probably, like, the attach rate, right? Because, like, if you're scalping, those are systems that are not generating game sales currently, right? Which
so
thus,
you're taking a look at it as in, like, well, it says 90% of Spider-Man or Spider-Man sales are attached to PS5s. Is that where you're getting at?
Yeah. So I mean that, because then that's got to kind of perverse. There's some math equation that I think we can get an answer out of, but I'm not gonna do that. But, like,
listen, I got a communications degree. I'm in great shape. But listen, so talking about games that spoke to us that we beat the crap out of. Kyle.
Oh, hold on.
Yes.
Because I had a joke brewing in my head that I want to say before we move on.
Please.
What other kind of metrics do these NPD groups have? Right? Is it like the PS5 is also the most burglarized console in home history?
Yeah.
4 months on shelves, right? Like, that was a bad joke. It was put better in my head. Yeah, most scalped console ever. What else? Most bartered sales of a console? Like, why dollar sales? Everything's in dollars.
Man. It reminds me of like late E3s that we got where, watching a Xbox conference and it's like world premiere Xbox console exclusive coming out this year. Like, so many asterisks.
Just way too much, like, suit and tie kind of terminology. Like, look at how professional I am. No, it's the most sold. Just say most sold. It's fine.
Take off the tie. Take off the tie.
Put
down the bag. It's
lose the blazer. It's
We're
good.
talking video games here. Like, just chill.
And we're here to complete Ghost of Tsushima.
Hell yeah, we are.
Yes, we are. Yes,
Dom Pepiat over at BG247. Ghost of Sushima is PS4's second most completed open world game. Ghost of Tsushima is a pretty popular game for PlayStation 4 players, it turns out. Over 50% of players have finished it. That's not a bad number, considering the game has sold at least 5 million copies since its release in July 2020. That's a pretty impressive number. The only other open world game PlayStation 4 that PlayStation 4 that has a higher completion rate is Marvel Spider-Man is higher, which rocks in at 50.8% completion rate. Not bad for a pair of first-party exclusives. Here's a quick rundown of other games the site has dug up. Marvel Spider-Man at 50.8%, Ghost of Tsushima 50.2%, Assassin's Creed Origins 38.2%, Far Cry 5 36.7%, Days Gone 34.7%, Horizon Zero Dawn 34.1%, Assassin's Creed Odyssey 30%, The Witcher 3 29.8%, Death Stranding 28.6%, and Red Dead Redemption 2 at 28.2%.
So just a quick one for y'all. Just to highlight more Ghost of Tsushima love. Which of these games, and again, just quick, throw them at me. What game is the one that surprises you the least, and what is the one that shocked you? Like, oh my god, that many people? Kev, I'm gonna go to you. Which one shocked you?
Least surprising, Spider-Man. Because it's such a great game. Number one, but like number two, like it doesn't play like a traditional open world necessarily. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, it is an open world. It definitely is. But, like, when you're going through that story, you are traveling throughout the city and everything. But, like, it doesn't quite play quite like the other open worlds, right? So it's the quote-unquote least open world game in this list, even though it is an open world game. Absolutely.
And web slinging through the streets feels fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. Like, who would fast travel in that game? Stop, please.
Absolutely.
If you are,
don't think I did it once.
Yeah, but barely, for sure. The one that surprised me the most, Days Gone is pretty interesting, honestly. Because that game goes on and on and on and on, and you think it's gonna end, and it doesn't. Nope, you have an extra 10 hours left. Yep. Like, that game kind of goes on in ways that I won't call necessarily bad, but like it kind of just goes on.
Yeah.
So I think that would be probably my most surprising, like next to like Far Cry 5, I think too. Not so much Far Cry 5. That one I can see people beating. But
Kyle, what say you? Which one jumps out the paper?
I mean, honestly, to go along with Kev, it's shocking to me that more people have completed Days Gone than Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Even by like a 0.6%. Like, I understand, while I love Days Gone, and yes, it's very, very long, Horizon Zero Dawn is a way better game, a more polished game. And it is Joe has said it many times. It's the reason why the trophy room exists, because he wants to talk about Horizon Zero Dawn. That game is special. Aloy is special. Only 34.1% of people have completed that, which is shocking to me. The other one that really jumps out is Assassin's Creed Origins over Odyssey. Origins I didn't really vibe with. I'm one of those people that was like, again, you can yell at me on Twitter. I'll allow you to yell at me at this one. Too much sand. Like I need a varied landscape, and just everything kind of like blended together. It became. I get it, Kevin. I get it. It's a stupid thing to say.
Anakin Skywalker over here, guys.
I know, right? Oh, it's coarse. It gets in everything.
Visually, it just kind of like became too bland after a while. That's the only reason, but it's still a fantastic game.
Honestly, I am a little surprised by Spider-Man, just because that game has been bought by so many people. You know what I mean? So like.
That's a fair point.
Having such a mass audience, and like half of that audience loved it so much it beat it. That says something. The one that I am, there's three. One's a troll answer. One's kind of real. I'm surprised at how many people actually beat and completed Death Stranding, because that is an obtuse game, and everybody's like, "Oh, the gameplay." Well, almost a third of the people actually beat this thing. Far Cry 5 surprises me, because that game is bad. I don't like it at all, especially towards that ending. Like, the game is like good. It's like, oh, this is a fun, I'm going to turn my brain off action, shoot, pew, pew game. But then once you get to the end, it's like we gave up and we just watched, an old 50s movie, and I can't spoil it because it'll literally spoil the end. So like, it's so cliche and full of itself.
I think you're allowed to spoil it because they spoiled it in the New Dawn trailer.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
that trailer starts off with them spoiling the ending of Far Cry 5.
And then
a year after release, I think it was. It was insane.
Why would they do that?
I don't know.
And then also Red Dead 2, because I fell asleep a lot in that game. That's a shot at Ains. Our good friend of the show, Ainsley. No, I appreciate Red Dead 2, but like that game was long in the tooth for me. So that's where I'm.
I loved Red Dead 2.
That's fine. You could be wrong. That's fair.
I understand. That's all right.
That said, listen, it's time for some free games. I want free games, Kyle.
This comes from Jim Ryan on the PS blog and Nibel on Twitter. Play at Home 2021 update. 10 free games to download this spring. Hi again. Last month, we revealed our new Play at Home program for 2021, which aims to provide the PlayStation community with free games and entertainment offers to make the next few months a little more fun. The program kicked off earlier this month with access to a free digital copy of the 2016 hit Ratchet & Clank for PS4. And you can still claim a free digital copy of the game through March 31st. Now let's talk about the next Play at Home content drop, which hits March 25th. This time, our focus is a selection of free games from some of our top independent partners, and the previously announced extended trial offer for Funimation in the countries where they are available. On March 25th, you are able to download and play Abzu, Enter the Gungeon, Res Infinite, Subnautica, The Witness, Astrobot Rescue Mission, Moss, Thumper, and Paper Beast. In addition, Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition will be free starting on April 19th.
You don't need PlayStation Plus. You don't need PlayStation Now. Hell, you don't even need a PlayStation. You got a phone? I heard you guys got phones. You can literally download this. As long as you got a PlayStation profile, you can download all these games on your PlayStation app.
Just add to your library and they're good.
And they're
Talk
good.
to him, King.
Talk to him. 10 games. 10 games, some of which fantastic. Horizon Zero Dawn, the reason why this podcast is a thing. But Kyle, some of these games are artsy fartsy, and if I can't shoot something, I'm bored. I don't want to look at games on a chandelier or on a wall like a painting. These games aren't good.
Which game would that? Oh, I see what you mean. Artwork. Got it.
Yeah, Twitter.
Yeah, well, Twitter can shut it because these games are awesome. What a fantastic group of games, including 4 or 5 that you can play on PSVR if you have a PSVR. Astrobot is exclusive to VR. Moss is as well. I think Paper Beast Thumper. I think you can play not in non-VR because it's on Switch as well.
Okay.
So I think that is one that you can play not in VR. Res Infinite also, I believe, has a VR component to it.
But I don't have a VR, so I can't even use these games, Kyle.
But you can add it to your library, so down the line when you pick
I'm never going to get it.
They'll be there. Well, then, you know what? Go away. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Get out of my face.
Honestly, Kyle, this is great. I'm sorry, Kev, go for it.
No. I was reading into these games. So like this batch of games is like the patented Kevin, hey, remember to check this game out. Someone recommended it to you. You know it's good and you never got around to it. This is why I'm like, okay, like I am really hyped for all these games. Like Abzu, heard great things, never played it. Res Infinite, never played it. Subnautica, Witness, all that. Don't have a PSVR either. So I think it is a very good way at they've been dropping PSVR games on PlayStation Plus here and there, not frequently, but like here and there. So I think they're trying to lay down the foundation of like, hey, let's give them VR games in the hopes that when PSVR 2 comes out, it's a one cable. There's no box of crazy cables and all that. People are more sold on the prospect of it by having games already in the tuck. I do want to ask about Thumper. Is Thumper a game that you can play regular and PSVR or just PSVR?
Believe so because it has a Switch version.
Yeah. No, it's VR and non-VR as well. It's a rhythm game as well, so it's up both sides, I assume.
Perfect. Yep. Because it sounds fire. I love a fat beat.
Yeah.
That's it.
So my question for you is like, what is the game that you hear it, you're like, oh, I need to go get this game. Like, and it's free, so it's like awesome. Kyle, I'm gonna go to you first. What's a game that speaks to you? Because like, Horizon, we already got that. That one, awesome that it's there. Y'all need to fucking play that game. But like for us, that's such an easy out. Yeah. What's a game that's speaking to you here?
There's 2 actually. One because of you.
Okay.
Not Thumper. Paper Beasts, because you really enjoyed Paper Beasts in VR.
Yeah.
So I want to check that out because of your recommendation. The second one is Abzu, because it looks gorgeous, and our friend Fiona Zoranix on Twitter, part of Point in Progress, she has been singing its praises for years now, and it's something that I definitely want to check out about this underwater kind of journey-like adventure. Enter the Gungeon is another one that I always thought looked fun, and I played at PAX at like their giant arcade cabinets that they have, but never actually bought and sunk time into it. But that is like my kind of game. So,
all right.
Kev,
what say you? What's the games that are piquing your interest here?
I'm gonna shout out 2, and then the third one as like a caveat thing. So first one, Thumper. It looks cool. I am a sucker for vibrant colors and a fat beat, right? If you have those 2 things, I'm probably gonna like your game. So Thumper seems like a me-ass game, right?
Fair.
Subnautica as well. I've heard a lot of praise about that game. I've heard things about Abzu as well. I just want to bring up like a little bit something different. Subnautica, I know little about. I kind of want to keep it that way. Same. I might just save a few days next month and just go through Subnautica because I've heard a lot of good things about that game for sure. The last thing is, look, so this got announced as of this recording is March 17th. Okay. April 19th, Horizon Zero Dawn is going to be free. Okay.
That's fair. Yeah.
I'm hoping and praying to Shuhei Yoshida, to the PlayStation conglomerate, R.I.P. Andrew House. He's not dead, but R.I.P. Whoever, right? Horizon Zero Dawn PS5 patch gets detailed and launches alongside this.
Yes, please.
Would die. Please. At least at the bare minimum, at least 60 frames. Because the game's very good looking. So if they want to keep the visuals, okay.
Fine.
At the bare minimum, 60 frames. But I do think that it could do well with a little resolution boost, you know?
Yeah.
I don't need a remaster.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, don't even touch Aloy's face. Okay, we saw what you did to Peter. I want to play.
We're good. We're good. We're not.
I was even thinking about that. Oh man, I just didn't want them to take too long on like a remaster. Just give me an update.
Enter the Gungeon for me. You give me a shoot 'em up. I'm gonna play that game. Absu, I'm right there with you, Kev. I don't know much, but like I'm in. Thumper is a game that I've always wanted. It's one of those like I've heard from everybody that it's a good game. Go for it. And then like Moss is fantastic. Go fucking buy that game, or it's free. And then Astrobot Rescue Mission is seriously just one of the best platformers ever made. So like, and that soundtrack slaps. It just slaps. So there you go.
Again, Moss and Astrobot are VR only.
Yeah.
So
and The Witness, I know I cheese and I just like look up puzzle tutorials on YouTube.
The Witness is fun, but in a it's not really that fun, but it is cool to try to experience. I'm trying to be positive about it. Yeah. It's very frustrating because it's very much like
that's not
drop you in the world. What?
You said I'm trying to be positive, and the next thing is like it's frustrating.
It is frustrating though. It's beautiful, but it's frustrating.
Good God. This is great. And yeah, all these games are fantastic. Twitter, get over yourself. Not every game is made for you. Go to sleep. That said, Kyle, Twitter had a thing.
It's my new favorite thing.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep. You're cranky. Twitter. It's been what a wild concept. What a wild app, right? What wild times. PlayStation announced on Twitter, we got all these 7 indies we're going to be showing you off today. Okay? Here on the PlayStation blog. Every, 30 minutes, we're going to show you a new indie game. That said, Famous Seamus writes in. So PlayStation decided to showcase more indie games to the PS4/5. What are the games you're looking forward to the most from the latest batch of indie delights? And I want to turn this into the most famous segment of the show. We're going to say yay or nay. Kyle's going to read one title. I'm going to give a little description for the audience of what this game looks and feels like. And then we're going to just simply say yay or nay. And just a sentence or two, why not? Are you ready, Kyle?
I'm ready.
Go for it.
First one is Operation Tango. In Operation Tango, you and a partner act as either the agent, Angel, or the hacker, Alistair, working together through complex puzzles to help save the world. This asymmetric co-op has you playing in the same world, but through completely different views, and no matter which role you play. Operation Tango ensures that you can get to experience all the beauty this near-future world has to offer.
Kyle, an audience. Here's what this game pretty much is.
And Kev, because Kev is
Kev, you're here too.
Hi.
So you have it's a Tango and Cash situation. I've never watched Tango and Cash, but it sounds great. And because of the name of this operation, I'm just gonna say Tango and Cash. Operation Tango and Cash is pretty much a puzzle game where one person is the operative, one person is a hacker, and they're both solving puzzles to get through the next stage. And it's all in the stylized of like this, not to say, it kind of looks like a Dreamcast game meets like a 70s like futuristic like thriller type S game. It's giving me that type of vibe. Is this a yay or nay? I'm going to go to Kyle on this one. Yay or nay, Kyle?
Man, I wish there was like a middle option. Yeah, for the most part, yay.
Yeah?
A may? Yeah, most part, yay. I think it will be fun to like play with you on stream, like co-op.
I was thinking that. I would let you.
I'm not a big fan of these co-op games where one person's doing something completely different than you, just because I'm the type of person that plays games and I want to see it all, scour every inch of the map, and knowing that there's another half of the game that I'm not seeing. It's my OCD like triggers like, oh man, I'm not seeing everything. It sucks.
Yeah. Kev, what say you?
I think I'll give it a yay in terms of like its aesthetic. I think it looks really cool. I really commend like these co-op games like It Takes Two, which I think that one's not
and A Way Out
yet. And A Way Out was recently, like a few years back. Yeah. but I've honestly never tried one of them where, you know, you have another person that's doing something different. I don't think this game details that you have to play it with a second player, right?
Right.
So I'm interested to see like how they handle it from like
if
a
I
single
could
player
just play it
perspective,
solo or not, or if I need another person.
Yeah. But ultimately, like I think it looks cool. It definitely has my attention, so I'll give it the old yay. Why not?
Right. Yeah. I'll give it the yay just because I want to accidentally kill Kyle on stream. And vice versa. I think it's a really fun... A lot of these games, I'll say the same thing over and over again. This seems like a really fun stream with your viewers type of game. You know? And having fun together. And that's what I see from this one. So this one is like a yay, but it's not a strong yay. That said, Kyle, the next game on this list.
Chicory, A Colorful Tale. When all of the world's color vanishes in Chicory, A Colorful Tale, it will come down to you to restore it with a magical paintbrush.
OMG. This game is adorable. From what I'm seeing right now, it's pretty much the world's black and white. It's this 2D, not to say sprite, but everything looks drawn. And you're filling in the world with color. And you're filling in the platforming as well. So like each path you take, it seems to be different depending on where you're coloring. Not to say what you're coloring. So I'm just going to spoil it. This is surprisingly a super big yay for me. Kev, where do you see yourself with Chicory?
Jeez.
5.
Like oh man, I'm not 100% sold on this. Okay. Right? Like I'm gonna be just blunt, admittedly. Like I think, I know, I'm sorry, my bad. But like I think that, and like they put out a 1:40 trailer, right? So there's plenty of gameplay in there, but I think I'd like to see like a little bit more of like the in between of the game, how exactly you're getting to which area you're at, like from that whole standpoint. But I think this looks interesting. Like I think it falls in the like maquette region of like I've heard good things, I have it, it looks cool,
but I'll never play it.
Down the line, I won't like write off completely, but like it's not near the top of my list. But if I could give it like a diet yay, I would do it, but I think I'll say nay for this one. But
Kyle, what say you, sir?
Oh, this is a super big yay. I've played the demo both on Steam and at last year's PAX. The game is full of charm and cuteness, and it's using your paintbrush to solve puzzles to get through these platforming and like.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, it's anthropomorphic animals, but they're cute. It's not like terrifying. And your cute little puppy thing.
Yes. And like you have to like draw platforms to solve puzzles, or like they'll give you a blank canvas and you have to draw the exact shape to activate the bridge or whatnot. It's also the same composer, Lena Raine, who has done Celeste. The music in Celeste, which slaps. So
I did not know that. I am now more interested.
Chicory is
you should have led with that.
Chicory is 100%.
You should. Oh man,
I'm all in.
I like how unsettling Kyle's face is when I go Chicory.
I hate it.
Oh, let me do the voice acting on this game, Chicory. Next game. This one seems pretty cool.
I think it's called Noir. Noir. Play with your food's sous chef, an interactive soundtrack. No two dishes made a delicious interactive exploration into the aesthetics of food and drink. Noir lets you play with your food in ways your mother told you not to. This beautiful, chaotic, yet comforting game demanded a soundtrack that reflects each player's unique preparations and plating. What started as a soundtrack ended up as an instrument.
This is really weird. And this is a PlayStation ass game if I've ever seen it. When PlayStation goes weird, they go weird big. So it's pretty much like you're making food or you're playing around with food more than that. All the food looks delicious, but like you see like you're making a breakfast for like a family of 4 and then like you're just dropping pancakes on the table, but like you're playing it with beats as well. So it's more like this soundtrack that you're vibing to and you're making the music yourself. Kind of way. Like every time you're making this food, you're making a new soundtrack and it just has this like chill aesthetic. This is definitely while I'm describing this, you might want an edible. Weed is getting legal in more places. Kids don't listen to me. Sorry, Tim Wolf's son. But nonetheless, this is a spacey, this is a get high game. If I've ever seen it in your life.
Yes. Yeah.
Which you shouldn't do.
Hey, your check with your state's local legal laws. Please be of age, of course.
Yes.
All that great stuff.
If you're a cool state.
yeah, definitely. This reminds me of Sayonara Wild Hearts. Yeah. In terms of like, having a soundtrack that is very analogous to like almost an album that you can put out by itself, but they have this interactive game element with it too. This looks dope. This looks really cool. I love that it just looks so out there that I appreciate this even being made, so. Yeah. This is a yay for me, for sure.
All right. Yeah. Kyle, are you going to 420 YOLO to this game? What are you doing here?
I've never 420 YOLO in my entire life, and I'm not going to start for nor.
Whatever, narc.
They're on to me. The game looks cool, and I appreciate what it's going for. I just don't think I will touch it.
Fair.
Yeah.
If there's a PlayStation Plus game, I feel like this game screams easy platinum.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Where the Heart Leads, Kyle. That's the next one.
Where the Heart Leads. When husband and father Whit Anderson descends into a sinkhole to save the family dog, he unwittingly tumbles into a journey through time. Suddenly enveloped by visions of his past, present, and future, Whit discovers he can change them, altering the course of his and others' lives forever.
This one is a narrative adventure game where you're guiding this guy through all of his life choices leading up to this one moment. It seems like a really big in your feels game. And kind of like lo-fi graphics. If you take a look, like, I hate to say it, but just for the viewer or listener, kind of like a RuneScape-esque, like RuneScape HD type of art direction here, but more modern. This is a very indie as indie gets game, and I'm in it. I'm in for it. Give me a really good story that's gonna, that's compelling. And this one has over like a dozen endings to it as well. So yeah, I'm really interested to see it. Kyle, what say you? Yay or nay?
Yeah, this is a yay. But I am totally expecting to cry. Yeah. While playing this game,
I better save that fucking dog right off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And man, I can already tell there might be some really heavy choices in this game that will really tug at your heartstrings and kind of pull you in directions that will hurt. And I like games that are like that, but I know it will take a lot out of me. Yeah. This feels like a game that's going to take a lot out of you emotionally, which is not a bad thing. But
are you ready for a roller coaster of emotions?
Yeah, I don't know, but like, obviously, like, I am like down to play this, like, but it's like, what I commend this game for is, there are certain things, obviously, that we've all lived through, right? Yeah. That we would definitely not want to relive, right? So, like, having a game about, ushering this older man through his life, whether it be the highs of highs or the struggles that we don't really want to think about, like, to see that unfold, I think is going to be something that is definitely a memorable game. This reminds me of, like, how I played Journey, where it had a, not the best of days, nothing crazy, but just not the best of days. It's had to decided to download Journey, blew it up, I will never play Journey ever again. Right? Like the ride I had with that game and the way that game spoke to me. I'm not sure how long this game is gonna be, right? But like the amount of time I spend with this game, I want to just get my one ending, and it seems like I'm gonna have that type of experience. Yeah. Of like this is what it was, because I will never touch Journey ever again. No way. No. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That said, here's a game I'll probably never touch: Puzzling Places, Kyle.
Puzzling Places is a relaxing, meditative, and flow-inducing game built on the age-old concept of jigsaw puzzles, except in VR. The puzzles are no longer flat. These puzzles are made with super detailed 3D scans of interesting places from around the globe.
So this is literally, it seems like they took, like, you know when you hit satellite view in Google Maps, it looks like they've taken, like, literal places, like, I don't know, the Eiffel Tower, and they break it up in pieces for you so you could put it together and put it as a puzzle piece. At the same time, taking its surroundings as well from it, so you get this 3D portrait. It's cool. The reason why I'll never play is because I don't have the patience for puzzles. You all know me with puzzle games. I don't fuck with them, and this is just another...
I'm in. I love puzzles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, this is like straight up like 3-dimensional, but yeah, I think I'm not sure if I have enough like brain meat for this game.
Exactly.
You know, like, oh man, and they're all spread out.
It's like
at
those
the
like
oh, man.
3D puzzle like dioramas of like King's Landing from Game of Thrones that you can buy and put together, and like diorama kind of thing. So it's again something I would have expected already exist, but I guess it doesn't, and here we are, and it looks cool.
Right.
While I think it would be cool to like, you know, be able to make your own puzzle in this game and like share it, right? Like you do a popular landmark in your city or something like that, you know. Not sure how that would go actually making that in this game. I assume that would be really, really complex.
Terrible. You know what people are going to take pictures of.
Also that.
Internet's an awful
place. There's also that. yeah. Oh man, yeah. I don't know if I have enough brain beats to do that.
I got you.
Yeah.
How about this? Heavenly Bodies, Kyle. What's this game all about? Tell us.
Heavenly Bodies is a physics-based spatial puzzler. Heavenly Bodies is a game about cosmonauts, the body, and the absence of gravity. Each mission is a gripping spatial puzzle tasking you to perform great feats of science and engineering in one of the most taxing physical conditions known to humankind, weightlessness.
This looks like an awesome little co-op game. Remember the little WASD games you used to play where like you're the runner and you're trying to run and you're using WASD to control all the muscles in your legs? Think about this, but with astronauts in space with tighter controls that are supposed to be in your way, but not as obtuse as those type of Flash games. And you're fixing like this space station in air, and like you have these obstacles that are in your way that like, you know, your buddy and you can kind of get into the way of each other, but it's all about like communication and puzzle solving, but in unique ways of using the physics of the game with you. As much as this does sound fun and I'm in for it, it's just not a me game. So, yeah. Same with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll give it kudos, like, in terms of, like, the animation work. Like, the way, like, certain chords, like, ripple off into zero gravity, like, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
And just lighting as well. Yeah. I was never fond of, like, those WASD, like, really hard to control games, but at least just gameplay-wise, not sure how much skill this player has, who they captured, but I would like to imagine that like this might be a satisfying thing to control once you get the hang of it, right? Like once you learn how to control it. I'll definitely be on the lookout for this one. I'll be on the lookout. Yeah,
Kyle, what
I
say
guess
you say?
I could call that a yay, but yeah, Kyle, go ahead. What you say?
I mean, I think it looks cool. I think it's definitely one that I would love to try out because again, I do like puzzles. I like them in games. I am also somebody that gets frustrated by those like that running game or in a more funny situation like the Mount Your Friends game where you have to control all the limbs and climb up the other people. I get very frustrated by that. Like my brain knows what to do, but it just doesn't. Kind of like if you ever had to like tap your head and rub your belly at the same time, then try to switch it up, and you look like an idiot because you can't do it.
I just tried to do it. Yeah.
That I get mad at myself that it's something so simple that you can't do. So I'm sure I will rage playing this game, but it looks cool enough to try.
Especially if it's me in there, Kyle, because I will kill you. And again, not because I want to. I don't want to see your demise, Kyle. It's just strictly inept.
Every time you say it, I believe that less that you don't want to kill me. I think you are. You've been plotting it for years.
I mean, just a little. Who is it though? You know, Kyle. Talking about a murder in Savannah. Let's talk about this next game.
Disco Elysium, the director's cut. Being a detective isn't easy at the best of times. You have to inhale corpse stink and ask grieving families tough questions, for starters. But imagine waking up with a horrible hangover and no memory of where you are to then find out you're the lead investigator of a murder case. No warning, no morning coffee, just you in your underwear, sore as hell, splayed awkwardly on the trash floor of a rented room.
And I am
Sign me up.
110% in. After listening to Rest in Peace, OK Peace, Alex Van Aken, now Game Informer, talk about that game, I am so 100% in. I want to be a detective in my underwear solving stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I know from people who've played it and have spoken to them, it is on the heavier side of things. So it's not a game that you're probably going to want to play from start to finish in one big chunk.
Right.
You'll probably want to, insert some fun games in between your play sessions to not get really
bogged
the
down.
Weight on your shoulders.
Ooh, really?
It does. From what people have said, it is pretty heavy.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Narratively and stuff.
I did not know that.
But,
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I'm 100% going to be playing this day one. I can't wait.
Kev, what say you? Yay or nay?
Yeah, this again was one of those games where I heard a lot about. I believe it got some Game Award nominations, right? I think. Yes.
It won a couple.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think it won Best Narrative at the Game Awards.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah. So definitely just off of that, like it's got to be of a high quality to some degree, right? So definitely something I will check out. Not sure if I'm like gonna, I'm like gonna start itching for it and get it day one. But just visually, just look at the trailer and just hearing off what you guys said, did not know that it was there was some like super adult themes in this game, which is something that you don't typically see in games. So like definitely, well, not like too adult,
right,
if you will, right? Like the way you described it. So I'm intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued for sure.
In 2019, it won the Game Awards for Best Narrative, Best Independent Game, Best Role Playing Game. Wow. And the Fresh Indie Game, it won that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's almost one of those games where like you gotta play it, right? Mm-hmm. So I'll definitely make time for it for sure. Definitely.
That said, usually we've got this was a fantastic episode, by the way. Before we get to the end, we have one question that we can squeeze in here from the Sony Pony Express. The other questions we're gonna save for the Patreon show. So patrons, get on there because this episode's gonna be wild. That said, ask what not why writes in via the Sony Pony Express. Like you can too. Yeehaw! You can write in via PS Trophy Room on Twitter. You can send us your questions on Discord, and we'll read them on the show and ask what not why writes. Let's put on our If I Ran Square Enix hats on. Shout out to the king, Bobby Balls, and Sean Capri for that little title. And ask, what would you do to get people interested in Marvel's Avengers and upcoming Outriders? What would you like to see happen that might interest you in starting or returning to these games? I know Outriders isn't out yet, but imagine that demo was imagine that demo was the release game. LOL. I honestly think these games need more time baking before sent out. Just my opinion. Who am I? A big nobody. You're a big somebody. You stop it.
You're not a big nobody.
You knock it off.
Come on, man.
You're someone to
we
be,
love
baby.
you, Jose. Don't say that.
Okay. So, listen, right? Let's get our thinking hats on.
All Right.
What does Square Enix need to show to get us pumped for Marvel's Avengers?
And Outriders.
First off, Outriders, I think they did it for Xbox folks.
Yeah.
Which we got a question in there going like, what do you guys feel about like Outriders on like Game Pass or Game Pass in general? Like, does it feel like you're renting games? Does it feel like you're like truly owning them? To me, I don't think it's about owning the game, more so as I'm getting to try this game out. And if I like it, I stick with it. And if I don't, I drop it. And if I do, I have it for either several months or at least a year on Game Pass. And then by the time it's out, I buy it for $20, you know?
Yeah.
So like for me, like I think that I think Outriders needed Game Pass more than Game Pass needed Outriders, and just getting the word out, I think did a good job for Outriders. But for Marvel's Avengers, I don't know, man. There's a lot broken in this game right now. And
yeah, it went from being one of my most anticipated games, something that I was really, really super excited about. And it was a great premise in theory of like assembling your own Avengers team and having it be like a action open world kind of story structure type of thing. And it is almost like that.
Yeah.
But there are so many things that I hate in these kind of games where there's just way too many loot and too many currency that all do a specific thing, and the collectibles are just like they're just kind of thrown in, and you have to grind a whole lot, and the enemies are pretty much the same.
It's just
throughout.
The foundation isn't there for this game.
Yeah, so what they would have to do is really come out and give me a reason for like these expansion and these new characters that we're getting for free. Is that story going to be cool enough to hop in and dive deep? Because the Hawkeye stuff, while I get the Hawkeye and Kate Bishop, they're amazing characters in their own right. There's the story stuff is not having me like frothing at the mouth to hop in. Like if they're going to come out during the Square Enix show this week and be like, here's Black Panther, here's the Spider-Man that we finally got to see, like then I'll get a little bit more hyped about it and I'll check it out on PS5. But right now I look at it on my shelf and I'm just really like, bummed at the potential that it never hit.
Yeah, and the fact that like they're making it harder to level up, it's like, why put grind in a game that doesn't even feel rewarding to begin with, and you're just making it harder? I don't think there's a redemption story for Avengers, sadly. What say you, Kev?
Yeah, like with Avengers as it is now, I mean, I think like if we were 2 years before this point, right, and someone were to be able to predict and tell, hey, like this game's gonna crash and burn, like I don't know if I just don't think that they made the right game for this IP, although I do think that this game type could work with this IP, right? I just honestly wish that Marvel's Avengers was just an original story-driven game, because I really liked the story of Avengers when I played it. Like, I think they did a really good job at the story. It's just the extra once you're done with that story and what they give you there is I just don't think it's enticing. I just find it just not that not that fun overall, right? Yeah. And like I think a big portion that you guys stated that was missing is that like there's a missing like reason, right? Like I have a lot of friends that, you know, play this game. Actually, 2 friends that host a dedicated podcast for this game. Oh, and man. One of the big complaints that they have is that like there is still no like good high quality like end game high level content. Like there's no like raid to work towards, right? Like there's no like,
and with that type of pacing, it's like, well, if we do get something tomorrow, let's just say, because there's Square Enix event, we're gonna stream it live, twitch.tv/PS. You should be there. Maybe not, I don't know. But like, even if they drop a raid there, it's out tomorrow, it's Wakanda, whatever the rumor was for the longest time. Yeah. Then it's like, okay, cool. When's the next one though? And I know like it's like, you know, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but like kind of rightfully so, because it's like it took you how many months to get one raid out there? Like, is this raid going to feel rewarding and worth the wait? I don't I don't know, man.
Yeah. It's looking kind of dire. I think like the only way I see Avengers coming back in some sort of like bigger force than what it is right now, honestly, is either, you know, they bring out some really intriguing Marvel heroes to bring up to the forefront, like Hawkeye. Hawkeye's cool, right?
Give me
like,
one
Kate
more
Bishop,
bow and arrow guy, and
cool.
I'm gonna freak.
Yeah, like
if
but
somehow
that's too
Hawkeye, somehow Green Arrow jumps in there from a different universe because you failed this city, I'm gonna fucking freak. You know?
Yeah,
Aloy shows up like, where am I? Where are the dinosaurs?
Yeah, I feel you. This game just has a hill to climb, and I don't know if it's got the equipment. That said. That's the questions that we could cover on this week's show. Again, we're going to cover the rest on our post show. But before we get out there, we do have some things to say to y'all. But before we get heavy into it, Kev, anything you want to pimp out before you go? This was a gosh dang pleasure having you. I had an absolute blast. I forgot all the timing of everything. That's how much I was enjoying our conversations. Where can people find you?
YouTube.com says PlayStation Source. You know, if you want just not your one-stop shop, because I definitely want everyone to keep supporting Trophy Room, of course. But just another perspective. You know, why not? You know, just add another to a wheelhouse. You know, definitely check out that. Also, I've got to mention this at the top. Yeah, I do, you know, news videos and lore videos and all that. I also do stream series, which is an like initiative to get me more knowledgeable about other IPs that I missed out on due to age or just moved out. I mean, just missed out on to just not being aware of this franchise or whatever. So we just finished Ratchet and Clank. That was an excellent thing.
Fantastic.
We're knee deep in the middle of Metal Gear Solid. Nice. I'm very confused, gentlemen. I beat Metal Gear Solid 2 last week.
That's the only one I've played a whole lot of.
Oh my god! Yeah. like what? So and we're starting Resistance this week as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we got some prime time gaming here on the stream series. It's me streaming the entirety of the game over the course of the few weeks, whatever, and I look at the entire series. At the end of it, we do a ranking, and I kind of sort out what's my favorite, what's my least favorite, all that good stuff. Stream series, love that. And also, I have my own podcast, Save Slot Podcast as well, where we very, very similar cadence to this show. Go over news bits, have a main topic, all that great stuff. And I also have the Road 2 series. The last thing I'll say.
So close to Road to Greatness, we would have had to see.
Yeah, I know.
No hard feelings, but litigation.
Yeah. So the Road 2 series is a limited podcast run of anything that is about a game that is close to release, right?
Okay.
So for example, we've done Road to Part 2, Road to Miles Morales, etc. We will be doing Road to Rift Apart very, very soon here. Ooh. And it's just a podcast series about going over the history of the franchise that this game is in, you know, like speculating on what the game is going to be, and just all info about that game leading up to release.
Real talk, we do a similar show for patrons called The Road to Greatness, where we talk about games. We talk about a game from the prior like PlayStation catalog, and we have like a roundtable discussion. This sounds very good and sounds way more produced than ours.
Like the one for this month is Resident Evil 4.
That's right.
Nice. Okay, so I see.
I like where this show is going, but my lawyers would be talking to yours.
Hopefully, great minds think alike.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
It's all good. But
that said, listen, Kev copied us at everything. Please follow him. Please follow his channel. All the links to Kev's work down below. Fantastic having you on, Kev. Really does.
Thank you. I really do. Here. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on here. You know, I've DM'd, anytime. I think, both of you like separate times, whatever, and it's been really great to meet you guys. Absolutely. You know, and
likewise
collaborate with some fellow Sony ponies. You know Let's go,
Kyle. Anything you like to shout out on your way out.
Yeah, my Twitter, Mr. K-Steps, which is my PSN ID, so send me a friend request on there as well. If you are into or looking to find out what cool indie games are out there on the horizon, hit up 61indie.com or 61indie on Twitter and on Twitch and on YouTube, where we tell you about the best indie game and every indie game that's coming out soon. Yeah. And just love you and stay safe.
All right, gang. This is where the maestro of plugs comes in. Of course, you can find the trophy
That's Joe's
room.
hint of, wow, Kyle, you really screwed up there.
No. I'm telling you, like, watch this. This is the professional at it. I do this all the time. All right.
I want to kill Kyle. Let's kill him again, emotionally and mentally. Let's break him down.
That's right. Week by week, we're just chiseling away. You can find this show wherever you find your podcast services, whether that's Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. Did I say that? No. See, look, I messed it up, Kyle. You got it in my head. You freaked me out. You can find us on Spotify. Anywhere you find your podcast, you can find the show here. Please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. It really does help this show grow. We're at 120 here in just the United States alone. That's fantastic. Thank you all so much. And you can find the video version over here on YouTube. That said, you can find the show over at PS Trophy Room on Twitter and at Mr. Badbit as well. Before we go, we were talking a bit before the show. If we should mention this, should we wait? Should we hold off? What the case is? And I want to just, speak for everyone here. Our hearts break from the news out of Atlanta. Racism of any kind don't belong here. And it's so refreshing to see that we don't see that shit here. Racism against Asian folks has been prevalent in sadly, our nation's history, but at the same exact time has risen drastically within the last year because of COVID and for people calling it the China virus. That shit doesn't belong here. It will never belong here. We're a community made by the players for all players of all kinds, of all backgrounds. So let's start a dialogue. Let's start educating each other. Let's end this hate. There's a link to donate to the AAIP, I believe I pronounced it right. This is a hashtag Stop Asian Hate movement. It helps get the awareness out there. It helps build the tools that people need. And really hit home to me as we were talking about Avengers. Yeah, I saw Todd Oxtra's post on Twitter. Todd Oxtra is an amazing member of this community and has been with us since day one supporting the show. And, he throws up the Asian Lives Matter, Asians are humans, Stop Asian Hate. And it's his family. His wife's Asian. His son is half Asian as well. And that's what is beautiful about, the internet in America and the globe, is that at the end of the day, we're all a melting pot. We're all people. We're all trying to make it by. We're all trying to supposed to help each other, build each other up, and be better for each other. So, everybody, I love you. Stay safe out there. Get vaccinated. Wear a mask. Wash your hands. And with all that said, and with all that out of the way, everybody, keep your wits about you and keep playing PlayStation. See you guys.